Winning a championship should be the pinnacle of a wrestler's career, the crowning moment of their wrestling life, the point where after years of blood, sweat and tears, they finally get their hands on the gold. So just imagine putting all that in and then being handed the bloody jam belt. Really, WWE? You're the biggest wrestling company in the world and you can clearly create beautiful belts like the North American Championship and the United Kingdom Championship, and yet for Monday Night Raw, you came up with this monstrosity. Anyway, with all that in mind, and with a new challenger for the #1 spot in the form of the 24/7 Championship, I'm Adam Wilborn from What Culture, and these are the 10 ugliest wrestling championship belts. Number 10, the WWE ECW Championship. When WWE resurrected the ECW brand in 2006, they decided to use an updated version of the old belt as their championship. Fine. But then in 2008, for some inexplicable reason, they decided to replace this belt with one of the least impressive championships in company history. They might as well have called it the Meh World Title. With this redesign, it became clear, if it wasn't already, you know, what with the 11-second title match at WrestleMania, that WWE's version of ECW and the ECW World Title was not to be taken seriously. Worst of all, according to rumours, there was no actual main copy of the ECW title, so whoever was ECW champion at the time was carrying around the same sort of replica as what you'd buy at WWEshop.com. Yeah, number 9. All of 5-Star Wrestling's belts. I know, it's easy to take shots at 5-Star Wrestling. So let's do it. They offered $1 million to CM Punk to take part in a 128-man tournament. That didn't happen. They made a PS4 game which featured the likes of Harvey D and was crap. They booked huge arenas for their tour, which no one turned up to. And yeah, they had belts like this, this, and this. No, just no. Number 8, the WWE United States Championship. Fans who hated John Cena's spinner version of the WWE Championship, take note. It could have been worse. And it was. Before Cena ever held a heavyweight title, he was a 3-time United States champion, and during his 3rd reign as champion, debuted this assault on your eyes. The belt was covered in jewels, but whereas the WWE title looked expensive, this just looked ugly. It was as hideous as...
Your mum. Also, your mum was also covered in jewels because that was my man batter.
Thanks, Jules. The centerpiece spun, of course, which was one of the big drawing points of this belt, but perhaps the worst aspect of all was the fact that the words Word Life and John Cena were written across the middle too. Oh, and let's not forget about the little trademark symbol next to John Cena's name. Fuck you, lawyers. Cena debuted the belt at Armageddon in 2004 and dropped it to Orlando Jordan in March of 2005, whereupon Orlando Jordan and JBL blew it up in a bin. Thank you. Number 7, the TNA X Division Championship. To be fair, it is pretty hard to make a decent looking belt when it's got a giant X in the middle of it. And if you don't believe me, just look at the first NXT Championship. Over the years, TNA has had a few different designs for the X Division Championship, and although many of them make the worst belts ever list, this 2013 redesign really does take the cake. Congrats, I suppose? I mean, for starters, the belt has a sideways oval for a center plate, a bit like the Attitude Era Intercontinental title, which is always kind of hard to make work. But then again, they also don't seem to be really trying, as the giant X on there is even bigger than the plate itself. Still though, the most notable thing about this championship is the blue trim, which is so out of place that in all the photos of this belt on shoptna.com, where you also used to be able to buy this Eric Young beard apparently, they put it on a blue background. In 2015, TNA redesigned the belt by changing the blue trim to green. yet again proving that TNA never learn from their mistakes. Number 6, the WWE Tag Team Championships. Or as you and I might know them by, the belts that make the owners look like two really proud owners of giant penny collections. Not only that, but there was also those Roman Centurion helmets that are on the center plate and two of the side plates too. Why are they even there, short of some sort of loose logic around, I don't know, centurions and battles and armies and, I don't know, teams or some bollocks? That'll probably be it. But even with that level of mental gymnastics, there's more questions there than answers. Don't worry though, because the return of the brand split meant that they changed the belts, and nowadays they are much alpha. Number 5, the WWE Divas Championship. Two of the most hated WWE titles in recent memory are the WWE Championship spinner belt and the WWE Divas title. The difference is that while the spinner belt grew to be hated over time, fans felt it looked fine on John Cena, but everyone else looked a bit silly carrying it, the butterfly design of the Divas title was despised from day one. The belt is just that, a big pink butterfly with the word Divas written across it. And I hate to be that guy, but there really should be an apostrophe at the end of that word. Come on, WWE, you're normally so good with grammar. The man, and yes, I am sure it was a man who came up with this design for that bloody belt, apparently thought that butterflies are feminine and therefore the perfect animal to immortalize on the championship. During its 8 years of existence, the belt was constantly criticized, with detractors claiming it looked like everything from a lower back tattoo to a vagina. Its retirement at WrestleMania 32 was arguably the brightest spot of the entire show. Number 4, the Universal Championship. Poor old Mick Foley. Whenever WWE have something crap to promote, they wheel him out because of the whole wrestling Santa being a legend sort of thing, in the hope that that'll distract everyone from the bollocks that he's trying to get over. Look, I get it. Belt making is an art and not a science, and rules are made to be broken. Except one. Red leather straps are always ugly. The WCW US Tag Team Championships looked horrendous. The Raw Tag Team Championships were devalued by their colour before you let a child win them. And when St. Nicholas unveiled the Universal Championship ahead of SummerSlam 2016, he was met with boos, chants of "this belt sucks," and suggestions of better belts that people had made on 2K. Yeah. Oh, and we're not even done with Mrs. Foley's baby boy on this list yet. Number 3, the WWF Heavyweight Championship. Despite a few missteps here and there, and I don't mean putting it on Jinder Mahal, the WWE Championship has generally been a good-looking little title. The current design is, fine, and the classic winged eagle design from the 90s is universally beloved. Before all those designs, though, came one of the ugliest belts in wrestling history, the one that Bob Backlund held, colloquially known as the Big Green Belt. When will they learn that green belts aren't a thing? Backlund, as mentioned, wore this title over the course of his reign, and the thick strap often made it look like he wasn't wearing any trunks. There's a mental image for you. Now, granted, sensibilities were a little bit different in the 1970s, but I'm still fairly certain that aesthetically pleasing things were in style. This belt couldn't possibly appeal to everyone. There's plates dedicated to all the former champions because that's what we want on our belts. Lots of almanac level information. I'm fairly certain if this belt had lasted until the 90s, Vince McMahon would have screwed Bret Hart into keeping this title when he left the company. Number 2, the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Over the course of Jeff Hardy's TNA career, it became clear that the company had kind of given him carte blanche in terms of what he wanted to do, including take all the drugs at one time or another. Look, he was a legitimate star in WWE, and it's not every day that someone who can really move numbers comes to the second place organization. Of course, Hardy never really moved the numbers for TNA, but the higher-ups still tried to butter him up. Indulging Hardy involved everything from allowing him to return to his Will-O-the-Wisp character from the Indies to letting him plug his band. Still, the ugliest literal sign of their lack of backbone is the world title that they allowed Hardy to commission when he was heel world champion. Oh god, as Mr. Anderson so eloquently put it, I could probably stick a crayon up my ass, squat over a piece of paper, and draw something better than this. It's a purple, pointy, ridiculous mess with a giant face in the middle. Now, ostensibly, it's Hardy, but he looks more like bloody Galactus. Thankfully, it only lasted a few months. Of course, when Hardy won the title in 2012, he debuted a design very similar to this one too. It's hard to say what's more shocking, that this belt was introduced twice, or that there's a belt uglier than that. Number 1, the 24/7 Championship. I mean, do you need me to say anything? Again, poor Mick Foley, who, judging by the look on his face, kinda knows that WWE raw dogged him on this one. Ugh! It looks like a bad fantasy football belt. It's the red-headed, or should that be green-headed, stepchild of the hardcore title. It looks like the Viking experience in belt form. It's like a 1970s kitchen utensil. This is what the Universal title leaves behind when it goes for a dump. It looks like a casino chip you catch herpes from. It looks like the greatest hits LP of a musician who turns out to be a sex offender. The 24/7 Championship is, without question, the ugliest wrestling championship belt ever. And that's our list. Did we miss any out? Let us know in the comments section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And check out our wrestling podcast by searching for What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. And check out some more of our recent videos here. Thanks for watching. I've been Adam from What Culture, and I'll see you soon.